Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, is the other host, LPGA professional and Legends Tour player and big break participant as well, Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted.
How are you doing?
How are things in the Panhandle?
In the Panhandle, same as always, a little cool, and I understand you're down in Florida. I didn't get a chance to ask you where specifically you are in Florida. I was, of course, Cindy's originally from Buffalo, New York, and I was asking her what the weather was like up there, and she said, well, I'm actually in Florida, and we'll ask you about that just a second. Cindy, let me just wrap this intro up real quick, and then we'll get down to some great discussion this morning. Obviously, if you're joining us, you know where we are, but for those of you that don't, you can pass this information around. We are live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern time at blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, and just go up into the search key up there once you go to blogtalkradio.com and type in Women of Golf, and that'll get you there just as well. Or you can go to itunes.com under the podcast section, just type Women of Golf, and that will also take you to the program. You're welcome to join in the conversation and call us at 347-945-5855 this morning for the next hour and talk with Cindy and I or our guests. And for those of you that have any questions or comments about the program, you can certainly email us at womenofgolf@gmail.com. Also, if you want to come on the show, reach out to Cindy Miller at cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and also visit her website, cindymillergolf.com, when you have a chance. A lot of great information there, and if you're interested in working with Cindy, you can reach out through her website as well. At cindymillergolf.com. And you can also reach out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Got a great show for you this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about this morning, Cindy and I, about the LPGA and USGA girls golf program, more specifically the 5 E's of girls golf. We'll talk about those in just a second. And then a little bit later, Jane Frost, a great asset to the game, an LPGA teacher professional, lots of accreditations. She's going to be joining us here in about 25 or so minutes. But Cindy, as I said just a minute ago, you've migrated down to Florida. First off, what are you doing down in Florida right now? And I know you've got some interesting news.
Yes, I'm going to be a grandmother any day. So I am awaiting the birth of our first grandchild in Orlando with our daughter, Kelly, who's been on the program. She is a producer at the Golf Channel, and so we're just waiting for the baby to show up.
and patience this is really when a golfer gets tested for their patience, isn't it, Cindy? It's when it comes to time for bringing that little one in.
Yes. Yes.
This is where you. Yeah, this is where all your training.
This is not one of my strengths.
No,
exactly. Come on.
Well, probably since we won't get a chance to talk before that happens, unless it happens to come during the show, and I know you'll have to make a hasty retreat. But please extend my congratulations not only to yourself but to Kelly as well, and her partner. That's some exciting news, and glad that you could share it with us this morning. But you're also down in Orlando for another reason. You were starting to mention something about a photo shoot. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm creating a new website for my speaking business, and I am going to do a photo shoot because, believe it or not, I've got an awful lot of video of me speaking, but I don't have any pictures. So, thank.
Oh, and it looks like we lost Cindy momentarily. I know she'll call back in here in just a second. For some reason, I don't know whether it was some weather or whatnot, but her call got dropped. So Cindy, if you can hear me, which I'm sure you can, I'll just wait and let you finish that when here she is right now.
Wow, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Your call just suddenly got dropped, but sorry.
It just call failure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cindy, and just
anyway.
Photo shoot.
So photo shoot, yes. Kelly and her husband Ben are both producers at Golf Channel, and so thankfully they have a lot of friends that are in the business, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go do some photos in Orlando for the new website. So I'm excited about that. Very
good. And when do you anticipate that you're going to have all of that complete? Not so much the photo shoot, but obviously that'll be done today. But when do you anticipate having that launched, your new site?
Probably by the end of December. Totally up and new and with video and stuff. So I do an awful lot of corporate training with the behavior assessments and motivation and what motivates people to action and judgment. And we do a lot of team building for companies. So I'm excited about it.
Very good. And actually, I saw a picture that you actually had changed. I think it was your profile on Facebook, and it's actually a very good picture of you. Very got that wonderful smile, that Cindy Miller smile that you always have. And so, if it's even that's a compliment. If the photos that you have today are even half as good as that, I know that the site will be successful. So let's talk about the LPGA and USGA girls golf program. I'm going to read out just a little bit about it, just to give the folks that maybe aren't familiar just a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about the 5 E's of the girls golf program. As I said, the LPGA USGA girls golf is the only national junior golf program that specializes in providing girl-friendly environments for juniors to learn the game of golf. They're the experts in making the game of golf fun, and of course they teach more than just stance and swing. They teach the girls valuable life lessons like confidence and perseverance. Each of their 300 girls golf sites, help prepare girls ages 6 to 17 for a lifetime of enjoyment of the game, while also inspiring them to feel confident, build positive self-esteem, and live active and healthy lives, and again, through the 5 E's of girls golf. And of course, their mission really is to change the face of the game. So they're inviting you to join the movement and help them inspire even more girls through golf. So let's talk about that. I know that you're, as I mentioned off air, you're certainly more familiar with this program than I am, and it's very well endorsed by a lot of different organizations in the golf industry, and obviously supported very heavily by the LPGA Foundation. But the 5 E's, we're going to talk about each of them very briefly, and then Cindy, I'll read out on each of them, and then let you have some comments as well. Obviously, their motto really is they believe girls can do anything they set their minds to, which I wholeheartedly agree, which is why they teach them more than just a game of golf, and they inspire them for the game of life, too. The 5 E's support their mission and give, the girls golf program the opportunity to focus on teaching vital life skills that are specific to development for girls, like developing confidence, finding their own voice, identifying their talents, and inspiring them to live active and healthy lifestyle. So the first E, if you will, of the 5 is to empower girls with confidence and inspire them to dream big. So tell us a little bit about why that is, why you feel that's so important to really empower them.
First of all, let me just back up a minute here and say that I happen to be the site director of the LPGA Girls Golf Club of Buffalo. So I've been involved with girls golf and the LPGA Foundation for, I think, 11 years now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, yes, we encourage girls and boys to be members of LPGA Girls Golf Club. And we just want to empower people. You know, golf is a game that mirrors life, which we've talked about so many times on our program. And we want to empower kids, if you will, to think big, dream big. Got LPGA teachers or PGA teachers at each site. I think we've got over 50,000 girls that are now members of the LPGA Girls Golf Club all over the United States and over the world, really. And we pride ourselves in connecting our members with teachers, you know, that can take them from beginner to advanced players who are passionate about sharing the game they love. by helping the girls on the golf course with their skills, we empower them with confidence off the golf course, because we all know how hard golf can be.
Right.
And, it makes you feel great when you accomplish the task at hand.
Yeah, and it creates, you're so right, and as you mentioned, we've talked about this many times, and one of the things that really golf helps and mimics life is, as we know, golf can be difficult. If you're willing to put the time and the effort in, you can certainly transition into a little bit easier time. That doesn't mean you won't have to face some challenges. But the challenges are really what help you grow in the game. You're always going to be faced. I don't know of anybody, and I don't care what level of golf they play. Some people might have a natural rhythm and maybe adapt to the golf swing a little easier than some, but more often than not, they are faced at some point through their game and journey, if you will, in golf, are faced with some challenges. So that's really how it mimics life, is you're going to be faced with challenges, and how you handle and adapt to those challenges is vital, because it again, by mimicking and mirroring life, how you handle your challenges in golf is going to be a telltale sign how you're going to handle your challenges in life.
Absolutely. And that's what golf does for you, whether you're young or old.
Right, exactly. And that's why it's a never-ending evolution, if you will, of not just your mind, body, but also your spirit as well. And it takes all of those working in harmony, I believe, to really be successful. And so empowering them with confidence and inspiring them to dream big is certainly probably the reason why it's number one. The next one, of course, is they want to enrich the girls' lives by expanding their minds and their horizons. So they're really, what the program is doing is again, as I mentioned, not just trying to teach them the stance and the swing, but really through their connection with the USGA, which is the governing body of the game of golf. Girls golf members also gain a deeper understanding of the rules, the history, and the science behind the game, and the members aspire, of course, to be able to compete either in college and or on tour. So obviously this is a great way to enrich their lives. And tell us maybe very quickly some of the ways that you try to, with the program that you're running up in Buffalo, how you try to accomplish that.
Well, again, first of all, you want them to have fun. So you bring kids into the game so that they, are exposed to how fun it is to learn how to play. And you have to have fun while they're learning how to play. And then the next step is you teach them how to play, and then you may teach them how to compete. Not everybody wants to compete, but they all learn how to be honest. You got to follow the rules, and integrity, and being unselfish. And there's so many things. How do you handle adversity? Are you emotionally stable? Can you focus on the task at hand? There's so many qualities and character traits that you need to have to be able to play golf well at any level. And it doesn't mean that somebody's going to try to play on tour, because very few people make it, that high up. But, example being my daughter, our daughter, who's, can break 90, so she's a pretty good player as far as golf is concerned.
Right.
She just got asked by Jimmy Roberts to be his primetime producer at the Olympics in Rio.
Wow.
So, she's not a tour player, but she understands the game, and she knows how to convey a message and tell stories. So this will be her second Olympics. So, being around the game has given her a lifestyle and a career, and she's not a tour player. So it really doesn't matter. That's why we want to enrich, people's lives by teaching them how to play this great game.
Right, and as we've experienced through some of the other guests that we've had on the show, and I'm referring to the non-LPGA or golf professionals, there's been many business women that have come on the show as well that are using golf, as we've discussed in the past, as a business tool. So just being around the game and embracing and empowering that game has helped them throughout their journey, again, not necessarily as a player, but as somebody that has been able to utilize that as an effective business tool. And number three is an interesting one, because, it involves and talks about really a mentorship and role models. And it's very important, especially for youngsters, to have somebody, and obviously, more often than not, it starts with their parents, but as they develop and grow, they start to look elsewhere for role models, somebody they want to emulate or be like. So they try to, of course, at Girls Golf, they try to engage the girls with positive female role models and mentors. That's obviously very important to have that because there are certainly a lot of male role models out there for someone like myself and others out there. But it's also important that we have positive female role models as well and mentors. Explain a little bit about that aspect.
Well, again, I think it's good to expose kids to people that, may do and be someone different than, what they're used to around in their environment. So just exposing someone to, you could be so many things in the golf industry. You don't have to be a tour player. You can be a club rep. You can be, I sat with, in the airport on the way back from the San Antonio LPGA National Teaching and Coaching Summit with Karen Gray from Titleist. She's in charge of all their research and development for all their golf balls. I mean, it's such a different job that you would never even know exist. And it's just good to expand their horizons to see what's possible and to have role models that help these young girls think bigger. It can't be bad. It's a win-win for everybody.
Right, exactly. And as we've talked about too, it exposes them to really an area that may not otherwise, and it can open a lot of doors by just gravitating to this game because it helps them in their growth in life and prepares them for whatever challenges they may be faced with. And like you said, whether they have the ability or interested even in gravitating to golf as a career, it can open other doors as well by really providing them with a great networking opportunity and getting to meet other like-minded people that are interested in sort of expanding themselves. Number 4 is, of course, they want to be energized and want to energize the young girls with passion for the game of golf. Some of the ways that they're doing that, of course, is to teach and retain young girls in the game by looking for their points of entry and learning and enjoying the sport, which sometimes means putting down the 7-iron and creating time for fun games and activities that catch their attention. So, again, it's about sometimes they'll set aside the actual game itself and create some other things that might be of interest to these young girls. Just some quick examples here is they might, will cut away from drills and maybe throw a golf fashion show or a pizza party, water balloon toss. And, for some of these young girls, it's about, as you said earlier, about having fun, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a junior party every year around between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and for girls and boys, and we do big break contests, and we have pizza parties, and we play tic-tac-toe with chipping and putting, and we just have all kinds of fun. And it just gets them out of the house. The other thing we do is, exercise and Titleist Performance Institute stuff to get them in shape. So it's, energize, exercise, all that good stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was the last one, was exercise. And that's important because it's not just getting them physically in shape, but also mentally prepared for whatever challenges they may be faced. And that's important, and we've talked about that. We're going to get into the new year. We're going to get back into some of the mental side as well and really the importance. And we can even talk about a little bit utilizing your program with Girls Golf, how you try to accomplish that. We'll get into more detail in the new year when we bring back that great program that we started the show off with, was really about the mental side of golf. For those of you that are tuning into the program, if you'd like to participate or join in on the fun with this great program, you can certainly visit www.girlsgolf.org to learn more and maybe find out where there's a participating site near where you live, and they can certainly answer any questions or comments that you may have about the program. If you've got a young girl that maybe might be interested in getting involved in this program. And Cindy, I know that they can find out through your website, cindymillergolf.com, up in your particular area, if they want to come out and join in on some of the activities and really work with a first-class teacher professional.
Yeah, one other thing I want to mention before we get on to the the exercise was number 5, but
right.
The history, it's funny, and it might be because of when I was born or whatever, but I had the opportunity to play on tour with when Mickey Wright was still played a couple times a year, and
right.
Kathy Whitworth and Joanne Carner, and so many people, kids, don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
And so I believe that it's very important to teach these kids, girls and boys, you know, how the game evolved and who these people are and how great they were and how many events they won and how caring and giving and what mentors they were. Because I don't know that they don't investigate it or they don't
right.
care, but I think it's very important that they know how this game has grown. And, you know, it's funny, like the Legends Tour, there's so many kids who have no idea who Joanne Carter is, or Patty Sheehan or Pat Bradley, and they're, you know, Sandra Haney, Carol Mann, you know, they're all Hall of Famers, and some of these kids are like, who? Huh? And they just see some old woman, and they have no idea how good that person was.
Right. Well, and that's true, and I agree wholeheartedly because, you know, unfortunately, and this is not really to blame them. I understand why they do it. It's part of the ratings process, but you know, they're looking at some of the newer, younger players that are coming up on all the tours. You know, obviously the Lydia Ko's and you know, the Jordan Spieths on the men's side of things, and the Rory McIlroys, and you know, the list goes on. And you know, certainly most people know who Jack Nicklaus is and Arnold Palmer, and they've heard the names before, and Nancy Lopez, and you know, they've certainly heard it. But a lot of people don't realize, as you mentioned, you know, Kathy Whitworth is a great example. We had her; she was our very first guest, and we're going to have to make a point of getting her back for the new year. But you know, she won 88 tournaments, more than any other player, male or female, you know, on this planet. And and yet, you know, we still hear about, you know, Tiger trying to, you know, go after Jack's, you know, his legacy, if you will, and we hear about, you know, all the great things of Arnold. And again, I understand some of the reasoning behind that because they are certainly legends, but at the same time, and they've certainly won many tournaments collectively, but again, still none of them, even in the men's tour, of anyone in the men's tour and or the women's tours, have won as many events as Kathy Whitworth. And yet, you know, you're right. I mean, you ask some of the younger ones. Now, people that are heavily into the golf industry, they might certainly understand, but there's a lot of them out there that don't, and they don't understand it. These are pioneers of the game, and particularly for the women. These are some of the people that have paved the way for some of these young girls that are playing on tour now.
Exactly. And that's the Founders Cup. You know, they have an event, the LPGA Tour, which raises money for the LPGA Foundation. And, you know, Shirley Spork and Louise Suggs used to be there before she passed away, and Marilyn Smith. And, you know, these people are treasures. And they have just a wealth of knowledge. And, you know, we just need to be so grateful that they are still around and that, you know, they do want to share their experiences with us, which makes it awesome.
Right, and that really raises, Cindy, a very interesting point because, you know, a lot of sports people that have played in whatever sport, whether it be football, baseball, you know, you name it, you know, many of them will do certainly some good charity work after and maybe have a tournament and things like that. But one thing that golf is kind of unique about, and especially with the ladies, all of these ladies, many of these ladies that we've just that Cindy has just mentioned, give a tremendous amount back to the game. I mean, many of them might have their own tournament. I know Nancy Lopez, of course, has her own tournament, and many of the others do. But it's a lot more than that. They do a lot of things to give back to the game to this day, where they could very easily just retire and sort of drift off into the sunset and sort of enjoy their golden years, if you will. But they rather give back to a game that has given so much to them. And
absolutely.
that says a lot.
Yeah, the Marilyn Smith Foundation and the tournament is coming up, and she raises money for girls golf, and she's, you know, Debbie Watkins, we had her on the show, and she told us about how relentless Marilyn is about helping to raise money. and I've seen a lot of Facebook posts, and you know, she's just an awesome person and so caring and giving. And you're right, a lot of people don't care, but most golfers do.
Right, and as I said, the people that are obviously in the profession understand who these people are certainly much better. But I think that would be really something that is really needed to talk about these people, and not just about their careers while they were playing on tour or while they were in the teaching side of things, but just some of the ways that they're giving back to their communities and giving back to not just golf, but giving back in other areas as well. And that really needs to be showcased. And I know that there's many people behind the scenes, people like Jane Blaylock and some of these others, Nancy Henderson with the LPGA Foundation, that are, you know, really helping to spread the word about some of these different individuals out there, these legends of the game, really, that give back. And we're going to certainly do our part with this program. And you know, we've had the fortunate honor of having a few of them, and we're going to keep working down the list and getting many more of them on the program as well as time goes on, and getting them to share their stories, and hopefully we'll do our part in you know, keeping that memory going along, because you know, I don't think people really appreciate just how much hard work some of these people have done in recent years, never mind, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were playing on tour. So we're going to we're going to do that. And it's not just the tour players, it's also people that have received so much from golf in other ways, that are doing something to help others, help charities, by organizing events, by raising money, and trying to reach out to different communities to try and get them engaged, not just playing golf, but as we, you know, talked about here with the girls golf program, just expanding these young girls' minds and letting them know that there are many opportunities out there, not just in the golf industry, but really out in the world, but they're using golf as a tool to help teach those life lessons. And I can't think of a better program to really encourage these young girls to get out there and enjoy. And it's obviously been a very effective program. As you said, there's over 50,000 around the world that are participating, and over 300 sites here in the U.S. And of course, you head up one in Buffalo, and hope you'll keep doing the great work that you're doing with the program.
Absolutely, I will for sure.
All right. Well, let's. I see that Jane is ready, so let's bring Jane on here in just a second. I'm going to do a quick intro, and then we'll bring her on. And Cindy, I'll let you start the discussion off. Our special guest, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is Jane Frost. She's an LPGA teacher professional, and Jane brings a wealth of experience and enthusiasm to the lesson tee, along with some very prestigious awards and golf industry recognition. She is well known in the New England area as an outstanding teacher and mentor. Her dedication to teaching has spanned over 30 years, and in 2011 she joined an elite group, the Quarter Century Club of the PGA of America. Her leadership and contributions to the game are many, too many unfortunately for us to list them all, but she has a lot of them. But she has served as president of the Northeast section of the LPGA Teaching and Club Professionals, and she has been a national evaluator for the education process of the LPGA TNCP. Established the first LPGA USGA Girls Golf Club that we were just talking about on Cape Cod. And just as I said, so many other great accolades. But let's bring Jane out and have some discussion with her.
Good morning, Jane. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Cindy. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we are thrilled and honored. So one of the first questions I have to ask you is, how is your new performance center?
You know, it was the anniversary of breaking ground yesterday. It was 1 year ago that we broke ground for this magnificent center, and we are so happy to have it up and running. The grand opening was officially the middle of September, so it did take us a while to get it up and running, and now that it is, we are very glad to be able to be indoors, particularly a day like this. We're expecting some rain later on, and I'm fortunate now to tell people, come on ahead. We can stay dry and still accomplish our training and learning just like we were outdoors.
That's great. So tell us what's involved. I mean, how big is it? What do you have? Why did you build it? I want to know all about it because, needless to say, I live in Buffalo.
Well, the initial thought entered my head a few years ago when our spring, which seems to have disappeared here on Cape Cod, I lost 70% of my scheduled appointments because of the weather. And I thought, I cannot do business like this. If the weather patterns are changing and this is what's going to happen, then I need to have a little shelter at least. Well, the little shelter grew into a much bigger project. But I'm glad to have 2 bays. They're both, the reaction has been, wow, these are much bigger than I expected. And that was by design. I talked with people who had done this previously and learned from, I won't say their mistakes, but I asked them, so if you had to do it over again, what would you do? And across the board, people said, I'd make the opening to the bay doors bigger. Because if you get too small, people start to feel a little claustrophobic. And so we went pretty big. You could get a nice size truck inside of each one.
Oh, wow.
So the overall building size is 24 by 36, and we have a little reception area in the back. Now, both bays are designed that, like a day like today, we can be inside and dry, but the doors are up, and you can actually hit outside to the range and still see ball flight.
Perfect.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it really is. And then when it's blowing from the northeast, which of course it does quite frequently here, right off of Cape Cod Bay, then we can keep the doors down, and we have flight scope and foresight launch monitors that are connected to a simulator program and projector, so that we can then work indoors and still see ball flight.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we've got all avenues covered there. In addition, we have a body track. We have a sand balance or pressure plate. We have K-Vest. We have Sam Putt Lab. We have a putting area, obviously. We're doing a lot of club fitting. I've got Bob Quirk, who is a PGA professional who has spent most of his career as a club fitter, so he really knows his stuff, has been out on the PGA Tour and has been fitting out there for years. So we're doing a lot of club fitting and putter fitting for Adele Golf along with their wedges. We're going to be having yoga classes. We're doing Titleist Performance Institute screenings. We're doing mental concentration workshops with Think Golf, as well as Focus Band, as well as Muse. So we feel like we've got all areas of the industry covered, and with a particular emphasis on not only improving your skills, but keeping you mindful that it's about performance out on the golf course.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. Jane, this is Ted, and I had a question because you and I'm glad you actually mentioned it. One of the questions I had for you was, you've had Debbie Cruz from Think Golf visit your performance center, and explain a little bit about, for those that don't understand what Think Golf is, how has her program, and then also how her program has benefited some of the students. Tell us a little bit about her program and how you're utilizing that, as you just mentioned, with your performance center.
Well, as we all know, we live in a digital world, and our world is in that little box that we carry around in our back pocket or in our purse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Debbie has been very forward-thinking, as only Debbie can be, and has developed an online video game that helps with concentration techniques for performance out on the golf course. And I have had several students who have really committed to the program and various handicap levels. And each one of them has shown significant improvement out on the golf course, and are just thrilled with the progress that they've made.
Now, give us an example, if you can, of what some of the things that they're, just from the feedback that you're getting. Again, obviously these are the program that she's developed is really to test their mental skill, if you will. And how is that then converted into out in the golf course? What is the program that she's doing? How is it helping the golfers? What is it actually doing to them that's allowing them to see some benefit from it? Each
of the games has a different intention. So one of them actually is intention. One is how well you're paying attention to what's going on out on the golf course. One is about tempo and synchronicity. And as you practice each of these, it helps you to relate to out on the golf course. The program then correlates. So if you can pay attention to the fact that there were 3 flag sticks and what color were the flags and what direction was the wind blowing from, and don't pay any attention to the photographer that pops up out of the weeds and the little gopher that goes running around. You know, she's put in distractions that, of course, happen out on the golf course.
Sure.
So she correlates the game to, okay, so when you're out on the golf course, are you paying attention to the wind direction?
Right.
Are you even paying attention to where the flag stick is? What size is the flag stick? You know, those are all things that, you know, because the majority of golfers go out there and they're thinking mechanics instead of playing the game.
Right.
They get so stuck in that this really helps to bring about a mindfulness of, oh, I should be thinking of different things on the golf course, not where my elbow is.
Right, and a lot of the feedback I'm sure that you get from this is it helps you decide, you know, whether the students are paying more attention to the distractions in these games or whether they're focusing on the things that they should be focusing on. This is obviously gives you great feedback because they're able to correlate through these games what it is that's, you know, again, if it's distractions that they're seeing or are they focusing on the tasks that are being given. So that's a great way, a great addition to your performance center. I also wanted to ask you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it absolutely, you're right on, Ted, is that, you know, the games that you're good at are things that you're already doing well in your game. And, of course, people want to play the games that they're best at. And it's like, no, let's look at the ones that you're struggling with because that's what you need to improve, and that could cut anywhere from 2 to 5 strokes off of your score if you start to improve in that particular area.
Right.
Absolutely. It's awareness, too, you know?
Right. That's right. That's right. The one that I think helps people a lot is the synchronicity one where you have to tap to the beat of the it's like a metronome that's going across the screen and you're having to tap in time with it. And it shows you when you're early and when you're late to the timing. Wow. And it's very typical that if you are early on your timing,
response.
That quite often you get quick out on the golf course and you start getting too handsy or you start snap hooking it. And if you're late, then your tendency is to leave it out to the right.
Very interesting. Now, does the program give you, are you able to get, besides just verbal feedback from the people that are doing it, is there a way of monitoring if a student is going through the process with Think Golf? Is there a way that you can get data feedback as to how they reacted to certain things? Is there a way of doing that?
I ask them to bring their results. They have a little, like a locker that they can keep their results, and there's a tabulation. So I look at it that way. Perfect.
Very good. I wanted to also ask you, if I can, about the Golf Channel Academy. I know that you've been selected to be part of that. First off, how does it feel to be considered among one of the best teachers and coaches in North America? But also, what are some of the things that you're going to be doing with it? Explain again for those that may be tuning into the program that aren't that familiar with what the Golf Channel Academy is and what role are you going to be playing with it?
Well, it's always humbling to be recognized as one of the best in your fields, and I know that for me, it always leaves me a little speechless, and Cindy will attest that that's hard to do with me.
Yeah, but you're worthy.
Well, thank you, Cindy. As are you. I mean, we've got so many great teachers in both the LPGA and PGA, and I'm just always blown away. There's never been a day that I've come to work and have dreaded it. It's always like, well, who am I going to help today? Who's going to find the secret within themselves that allows them to enjoy this game? And the greatest reward as opposed to award is to see someone have their best score, to be enjoying the game more, to see a smile on a kid's face for the first time as they're being successful and having a great time. So that's always my reward for coming in every day and having a great time myself. The Golf Channel Academy has been in existence less than a year in terms of this new project that they're branching out with. Mm-hmm. And what it involves is that the Golf Channel Academy selection and my participation in it is that it becomes a great opportunity for like-minded professionals to join forces with the Golf Channel and the Golf Channel Academy to be an advertising and marketing co-op. So we're all being branded with, obviously, the power of the peacock with the Golf Channel Academy logo. And we're able to tap into other marketing resources that individually we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's been interesting, of course, with the building of the Performance Center. People have said, that's great that you got the Golf Channel to build this for you. And it's like, oh, I wish. That is not part of the program.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have been a big plus if they were to do that. But yeah, you're right. I think it's very important in helping. You know, there's a lot of things that people don't understand. You know, the general population sort of looks at the players on the LPGA and the PGA and so forth as really the representation of the golf industry, and really it's not. It's actually the opposite. It's the people in your position, and Cindy's, and even in my position, that really you know, foster the different programs out there. And it's great that the Golf Channel, through its Golf Channel Academy, is really starting to recognize and embrace the teaching professionals as well, as opposed to just you know, the players, always focusing on that. So this is going to be a great opportunity and hopefully a great partnership both ways with the Golf Channel and their crew, and of course Jane, with yourself and other professionals in your league. That's a fantastic relationship.
Oh, I'm very pleased to be a part of it, and looking forward to what the future is going to bring in terms of even greater marketing, branding, and the opportunity to be on Golf Channel and participate. I've had an article, and one of my students has been interviewed for their online magazine at Golf Channel Academy that you can sign up for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And you know, the other thing too, Jane, that it allows is, you know, there's a lot of people that may tune into the Golf Channel that maybe are not working with somebody such as yourself, and they want to get an opportunity. Well, I don't know where to start. You know, I want to work with somebody, but I don't know who's out there. And you know, you can go on the internet and you can find all kinds of information on golf and golf instructors, and you know, some are accredited and some are not, of course. So it's a very confusing process, especially in this technological day and age. So this gives you an opportunity really to showcase your talent, and maybe somebody in your area that's interested can say, hey, you know, I think I'd like to, you know, check out, you know, Jane Frost's Performance Center, and you know, that is a good way of attracting new customers.
That's exactly right, Ted. And as a result of that alliance, I have felt very comfortable about expanding my staff. Before, it used to be me, myself, and I doing everything.
Yep.
And now I've had the opportunity to bring aboard Bob Quirk and also Marion Walker, LPGA and PGA professional, whose home is in Florida, but she was very smart about coming up to Cape Cod for the summer months. And so she's a wonderful addition and was instrumental in doing our junior program as well as new golfer program, and expanding what I could offer for educational opportunities at various price points as well.
Right, exactly.
That's Marion's great. That's super.
We've got a great team here. It's the comedy act for sure.
Well, it's good. Everybody needs to have fun.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's both the teachers and the students, right?
That's right. That's right. Otherwise, if we're not having fun, do it. Why bother doing it at all?
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about teaching and coaching, and do you do both? And give us your philosophy on what you believe and what you do.
Those semantics are so interesting, aren't they, Cindy?
They are.
And I've really shifted over the last few years to say coaching packages, because to me teaching is about the one and done lessons, and those are my least favorite, because it's the tweak of the week, and it might last for a little bit, but it's not the long-term coaching that I so believe in. We get asked all the time, and you can attest to this, well, how many lessons am I going to need? And it's like, well, I don't know. Jordan Spieth and Lydia Ko are still taking lessons. You tell me.
Well, exactly. It's funny that you say that, because I'm trying to convey that message to my students that, we have a game improvement package that we offer, and a lot of times, during the perfect practice sessions, I'll call everybody together and I'll say, I used to do these clinics out on the LPGA tour for a company, an insurance company, and I would introduce all the little proettes. I was like the mom, and they were the cute little proes, and they would help me do the clinic, and I would say to them, please tell us who you are, where you're from, where you went to college, how long you've been on tour, and what you're currently working on.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure that the attendees realize that we're always working on something. You never arrive.
Exactly. As long as it's a human being on the other end of that golf club, they need an outside set of eyes to say, your alignment is way open or way closed. And they're like, no, it isn't. And then you take a picture, or you put the aiming sticks down across their feet, and they go, oh, I didn't know that. So the perception that we all have, of course we want to be doing it correctly. Unfortunately, because we are human and we change every minute of the day, from one day to the next, from one shot to the next, we're a different person, and our perception is different. So we need to constantly calibrate the perception so that it matches reality. And that's where long-term coaching is always going to be the best approach.
How often do you suggest your students come in?
Well, it varies. If they're new to me, I like to see them once a week for the first couple of weeks. And then once every other week, once a month. It varies by what their goals are. And are they satisfied with where they are? Are they still looking to improve? What are the areas they want to improve upon? A couple of times a year I sit down with them and we do an evaluation. What are your goals for the next 3 months? Where do you want to be in a year? So it just helps them to be accountable, number one. It helps me to be accountable and make sure that anything that is being prescribed in terms of an improvement strategy is geared towards what their goals are. It doesn't matter what I want. It only matters what they want.
Well, that's so true. And the other thing is it makes them accountable, and you can measure things.
Exactly.
Because so many people, they get emotional and, I can't do this, and I did this or I did that. I'm like, okay, let's stop,
Right. And sometimes their goals are unrealistic, and it's helpful to put it back in perspective. So you're not going to be able to practice? Okay, well, then we need to adjust the idea of getting 50 more yards on your drive. That just is not going to happen.
Jane, if you can accomplish that, I'm coming to your performance center.
Well, you know how you do it, Ted, is that you hit the ball, you run 50 yards backwards, and you're 50 yards further away from the ball.
Right, exactly. And hope nobody noticed you doing it.
Right.
Let me ask you something, and I want to relate this to something that Jack Nicklaus talked about in his early video, Golf My Way. One of the things that he talked about in there was how important it was to really work on the fundamentals. So when you're working with, whether it be coaching and teaching or what have you, when you're working with students, Is that something that you try to instill that they on a regular basis? I mean, obviously you have certain drills and things that you want them, whatever you may be currently working on, but is there some area that you try, like the fundamentals that you say, okay, I want you to be working on these and practicing these on a regular basis? In other words, give them something to do, a task, if you will, on a regular basis like Jack did. Do you do that in your teaching as well, to try to get them to understand those fundamentals?
Absolutely. The emphasis on the fundamentals, and as I like to say, the emphasis is on fun so that we don't become demental about the game. And it's a perfect word.
It is.
If you're not having fun, the heck with it. Each client, when they come, if they're going to be in long-term coaching, we have an outline of pre-swing foundation pieces, like your hand positioning, your hand pressure, your width of stance, so that they have an outline. And I tell them, look, you're writing your own golf book that says Golf My Way by Jane Doe and Golf My Way by Ralph Smith.
Right.
So they know what their foundation is when it's in an ideal position. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't need guidance on that outside perception of, that alignment is off a little bit. So a lot of time is spent on laying the foundation. As I say to them, I'm not going to go work on the roof until I know the foundation is solid.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
a lot of people too, and you're right, what you were sort of alluding to earlier, a lot of people come in, they want that quick fix, they want that 5-minute golf lesson to sort of help them through, the next week. Maybe they've got a corporate event or something coming up, and they just want this sort of quick lesson to help tune things up, but they don't really want to make a commitment in becoming a better player, which would alleviate a lot of the problems that because otherwise they're coming the following week for something different. And what do you do, just as we sort of wrap up here, what do you try to do to encourage the people you work with not to tinker with things when they're out in the golf course? In other words, when you're working with them or they're out in the practice tee working on some of the drills or some of the things that you've taught them, how do you get them to flick that switch off when they're going to play and just going out and playing, working with whatever they take to the course that day? How do you try to instill that in their mind?
Well, part of the lesson time, we work on some skills, and then we also work on taking it to the golf course, which means we're changing clubs, we're changing targets, we're changing lies, and we're putting it into real life experiences of how do you take it to the golf course, so that there's always that meshing of, okay, you've improved and you've been practicing a skill improvement. Now you need to trust it at this moment in time, do your best with it, and go out and play the game. So it's part of the lesson that we actually are working on the emotional state and the concentration state of, okay, now I'm going to the golf course. Yeah. And that to me is so important, that it's not just the nuts and bolts of the golf swing or short game, but how do I perform it? That's very different. Learning and performance are 180 degrees apart in terms of mindset.
Right, exactly. And, it's funny because you often hear people say, boy, I wish I could take my range game to the golf course. And there's certainly an element of truth to that. But there's also an element, if you will, that you really don't want them to do that. I mean, certainly if they're hitting the ball well on the range, you want that component. But really the range or the practice tee is where they're working on all of these different things that we're trying to, convey to them. And if they take all that information out into the golf course, that's why you see people out there. And you can almost, when you're watching a group in front of you, you can almost picture them what's going on in their mind, because they're just fidgety and they're adjusting like crazy. And taking about 1 million practice swings, and they wonder why there's slow play was invented, because they're just not really out there enjoying and having fun. They're thinking about what they were doing 20 minutes ago on the practice tee, instead of just going out there and working with what they've got. So it's a very tough transition sometimes. Jane, just let the listeners know, for those that maybe are interested in working with you, just some of your contact information, how they can reach out and get in touch with you.
Sure. Certainly Cape Cod is a lovely place to come in the summer months.
Yeah.
And actually the best month here is September. I'll just let a secret out of the bag here that the crowds tend to be down a little bit and the weather is absolutely fantastic. But for those who are interested, I have a website, janefrostgolf.com, and email is jane@janefrostgolf.com, and phone number for the old-fashioned ones out there, 508-367-4030.
Perfect. Well, Jane, Cindy and I want to thank you very much for coming on the show this morning and sharing some of your thoughts and insights and your coaching ability. And we want to wish you much continued success, particularly with your new Performance Center and also with your new partnership with the Golf Channel Academy. I know you're going to do some great things and help a lot of people out there and also be able to collaborate with some of your fellow teacher professionals. So much continued success and good luck with that process as well.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Cindy. It's been an honor, and maybe we need to have a live show out at the Performance Center next summer.
I think
you know what?
we do.
We would love that. Yeah, that would be
road
something.
Trip.
Road trip. That would be
I'm
something.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in as well. Jane, thank you again very much for coming on the show, and you're welcome back anytime. In fact, we may take you up on that offer, so we come rolling up in a van or something. You know what's going on. But thank you very much, Jane, for sharing your insight, and again, much continued success with the Performance Center and also with the Golf Channel Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to come on anytime and support Cindy and support you as well, Ted.
Thank you very much. All right. Have a great week.
Thanks, Jane.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was our very special guest, LPGA teacher professional Jane Frost from up in the Cape Cod area, and what a great asset to the sport and to the game, and just full of lots of wisdom. We've got to wrap things up, of course. Cindy, I know you've got to go, so on behalf of Cindy Miller and I, we want to thank everyone once again, all of the listeners around the world for tuning into the broadcast. Remember to tune in each and every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com's Women of Golf. Thank you very much. Cindy, have a great week. God bless everybody, and we'll see you next week here on the Women of Golf Show.
Thanks, Ted. Have a great week.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.